Just a disclaimer for the video you're about to see. If I get anything wrong, I'm old. Forgive me. So I thought I'd pop out today, just on a little loop I like to do. Just a nice easy 10-mile loop. And talk about my return to riding. So after 40 years of not riding a motorbike, this year I decided to buy a motorbike and start riding again. I'm not sure why, probably the influence of a load of YouTube videos, but anyway, here we are, 3 months down the line after buying this bike. I'm still riding around, still enjoying it. But as everybody says, there's a journey associated with that. So mine started when I decided I wanted to get back to riding a bike, and I didn't just dive straight into it. I mean, I've got a full license, but it would have been ridiculous to just go out and buy any old bike and then probably kill myself. So I did the sensible thing, which was to go on a return to biking course. So what that involved was a day of riding around with an instructor, getting used to riding again. So by and large it was successful. It wasn't perfect, but it was successful. Oops, missed a gear. So the only thing that was wrong with it really was the bike that I ended up riding by the end of the day, and that was I guess a typical learner bike. It was a Kawasaki Z650, but it wasn't very nice to ride. The throttle was really jerky, so in first and second gears it was almost like you were kangarooing with the gears. Didn't inspire confidence in somebody who was coming back to bikes after such a long break. But anyway, I persevered, and this bike, the bike that I ended up buying, was the bike that I thought would suit me. So suit me, what I mean by that is it's low powered. Anybody who buys one of these knows that. It's only 20 horsepower, it'll do 70 mile an hour downhill with a following wind, but by and large it's kind of happiest at 40 to 50 mile an hour. It's got some pull, it's got some torque, but it's not an out and out racer. So that suited me in terms of what I perceived my motorcycling would be. And by and large it's perfect. It's perfect for that. And I think what you have to take into account when you're coming back into motorcycling is, especially like myself who'd not ridden for 40 odd years, things have changed on the roads. I mean, when I was riding a bike there was a lot less traffic on the road, and then obviously proportionally there were a lot less bad drivers on the road. There's always going to be bad drivers no matter what generation you're talking about, but obviously the more traffic there is on the road, there's a higher chance that you'll come across bad drivers. So obviously as a motorcyclist you are vulnerable, you know, it's just you on this machine. Yes, you have protective gear, but if you run into the side of a car or drop your bike, you know, it's going to hurt. And if you look across Facebook or the internet, it's full of stories of motorcyclists dying in crashes, generally caused by cars pulling out on them. that vulnerability is one of the things that you have to consider when you're coming back to biking, and that also then links into the kind of bike you buy. Obviously, the slower the bike, as your confidence and skills increase with riding it, if it's a slow bike, you know, you're not going to be able to ride it fast. You're not going to be able to get yourselves into those situations where you're running into the side of a car at 70 miles an hour on a country road. So once again, that was another thing that suited me perfectly about buying this bike. So it's a low power was actually, you know, a selling point for me. But then obviously when you first start off, because essentially it's been so long since I've owned and ridden a motorbike, you're effectively starting from scratch, and that's in every aspect. The riding aspect, the bike aspect in terms of the actual mechanics of the bike, the gear, the helmet, the jacket, the gloves, everything. So inevitably you're not going to make all of the right decisions initially. There's probably going to be a second pass that you need to make in terms of what you've got, but obviously the biggest area you don't want to make a mistake in is the bike, because that's the biggest financial outlay. So I guess from my perspective as a returning rider, an elderly returning rider, after 3 months of owning this bike and getting used to it, would I buy it again? And the simple answer to that is yes, of course I would. It's a fantastic little bike. Does it have shortcomings? Of course it does. There's no such thing as a perfect bike or a perfect car. And the one thing I think I've learned more than anything else is it's not so much about the bike that I'm riding, it's about me and how I want to ride. And that was kind of put into perspective when I went on a demo day and I got to ride another Royal Enfield. Oh, this is a bumpy road. It was a 650 shotgun, so a 650 engine, more than twice the power of this bike. And initially when I went out on that test ride I was a little bit concerned, because I thought, this is going to be a more powerful bike, it's going to be a bit more comfortable because it's a bit heavier, a bit bigger. Is it going to put my little Hunter 350 in sort of a sharp negative perspective? You know, I'm going to want to immediately go out and buy a 650. And the biggest surprise to me was, no, it didn't. And the reason it didn't wasn't because it was a bad bike. It was because I realised that I was riding that 650 in exactly the same way as I ride my 350. So I wasn't out to break any speed records or see how far I could get the bike over in a corner. I was just riding and enjoying it, you know, 30-40 mile an hour as I am now. So that made me realise that it isn't necessarily about the bike, it's about you, the rider, and what you want from your bike. So yeah, in that sense, road closed here, I don't know what that means. We'll find out when we get down here. Yeah, so in that sense the Hunter is still a fantastic bike, and it's the bike for me. However, as I've said, there's no such thing as a perfect bike. Hesitating now because I've got road ahead closed. I've no idea which road is closed or where I'm going to go. Well, that's one of the beauties of just coming out for a ride. You've got no idea what you're about to face. So I just get to the end of here and then we'll decide where we're going now. We're not going up there. Access only. So I'm going to go down here, because I don't think that access is meant for me. I didn't really want to go on the A52, but I guess I'm going to. So this is going to be actually the first kind of illustration of maybe one of the things that is a negative of the bike, and that's ultimately going to be its performance. So we're heading out onto a dual carriageway. And it's going to get windy. So I will stop talking now and come back later. Okay, we're back. So yeah, that's one of the negatives. The bike only has 20 horsepower, so when you get onto dual carriageways or national speed limit roads, you know, you're pushing it. It's not comfortable for you as a rider. It's a naked bike, so there's no fairing or wind protection, so you just get in the full blast of the wind, and the low power shows itself. But you know, if you buy this bike, you should know that. You know, you should know what 20 horsepower on a motorbike is. So you can't really complain, and I'm not. That's not a complaint from my point of view. So once we've pulled out of this junction, oh dude, what are you doing? Yeah, so power isn't a complaint, but it's something that you need to take into account. Do you really understand what 20 horsepower means on a motorbike? The other thing about the bike is that it's made in India, predominantly for the Indian domestic market. So what that means is it's set up for, I guess, typical rural India use. And there's two negative aspects of that. The first is the tyres. So they're an Indian brand and they're very hard. So unless it's a lovely sunny day like it is today and everything gets nice and warm, they're not the best tyres for UK roads. And they are very susceptible to tramlining. So yeah, not great. And a lot of users, to be honest, swap the tyres out when they can and put on tyres that are, you know, more suited to European roads with much kind of wider temperature variations. And then the second aspect of that is the suspension. It's stiff. The back shocks especially. The UK roads aren't brilliant, and the rear shocks don't do anything to really kind of cushion you. Once again, they're designed for the Indian market, where maybe the bike will be used certainly with more than one person on it, in a lot of cases 2 or 3 or 4. So you know, it's designed for that level of use. And once again, you can swap the shocks out. So if it really bothers you, then you can change it. So in that sense, there's two quite major things that can be remedied. And you could argue, well, why should I have to pay to make the bike what you think it should be from the day you buy it? Well, it's only a cheap bike at the end of the day. I mean, I bought this brand new and it was £3,500. I mean, that's nothing really. So to think that you might have to pay, I don't know what, 300, 400 quid to put new tyres and shocks on it, it's not really a lot. To just improve what, to be fair, is a pretty good bike anyway. So there are some niggles, they can be addressed, but I'll go back to the power. That's one thing that can't be addressed. And there's the obvious aspect of it not being enough power if you want to go faster, but then there's the aspect of actually sort of riding it on a not necessarily day-to-day basis, because that's not what I bought this for. This is purely a hobby, if you like, just something to pop out on 2 or 3 times a week, do little rides like this. You know, it's good for your physical and mental well-being apparently. But I'm fortunate where I live. I'm on the doorstep of the Peak District, but to get to the Peak District I have to go down some fairly lengthy A roads, and most of them are limited to 50 mile an hour, which is fine, so it's well within the kind of cruising capabilities of the bike. But when you're tazzing along at 50 mile an hour, maybe on a windy day, the wind's buffeting you, and the other thing is one of the positive aspects of this bike is the engine and the exhaust. I mean, it sounds fantastic, it's a lovely sounding bike, but when you're stuck in top gear at 50 mile an hour on a long A road, it's a drone, and it starts to become tiring. So it's fine when you reach your destination of the lovely twisty B roads, you know, the great scenery, but to get there is a pain, and to get back is a pain. So that's something to consider in terms of how you're going to use the bike. Are there going to be lots of times when you are just blatting down a road at 50 to 60 mile an hour? You know, I would certainly advise anybody who's doing that to get themselves a good set of earplugs and a top quality helmet that's got good sound absorption. And that's, you know, that's the same for any bike. There's no such thing as a silent bike, and the fact that you're exposed to the wind and the elements means that it's inevitable that it's going to get a bit noisy. So on to more positives, because I feel like I'm slagging the bike off a little bit and I don't really mean to. So the positives: it's cheap to buy, and it's cheap to run. I mean, road tax is 60 quid a year, £59 a year. Insurance, even for me as a returning biker, it was really reasonable. Fuel consumption, well, I mean, obviously I don't thrash the bike or ride it like I've nicked it, but you know, I go quick when I can, and I average over 100 miles to the gallon, so it sips fuel. So just as like a little hobby bike, it's kind of perfect in every sense. But you need to understand the slightly negative aspects of it, which really you should understand before you buy it. But I'm kind of coming from the point of view from somebody who hasn't been an established biker for many years, so therefore kind of almost didn't know what to look out for, if that makes sense. I know now. But even having said all that, I do not regret for 1 minute buying this bike. Fantastic bike. Every time I go out on it, it makes me smile. And this kind of riding, to be honest, I think is where it shines. So it's sort of urban riding, or riding at speeds of 30 to 40 to 50 miles per hour. Yeah, perfect for that. So, as an older returning rider, yeah, I kind of made the right decision, I think, with this. Would I swap it out for anything? Of course I would. It's only natural. Everybody would, I think. You know, you're never entirely happy. But if I had no other choice than just to own this bike, would I be happy? Yes, 100% happy. A great little machine. So, I guess that was like a mini review of the Hunter 350. Yeah, so if this happens to drop across anybody's YouTube feed and you found it interesting, maybe you're a returning biker, maybe you're a Hunter owner, or if you just got a different perspective or a similar perspective and you've got some time to spare, leave a comment, as they say. If not, then this has been a diary for me to look back on in 20 years time, which will be fun. Right, so if you're a biker, take care, and maybe I'll do another one of these in the future, who knows. Bye.